Yeah, good evening, everyone. Or it could be afternoon or morning, depending on when you're watching this. Originally, it aired live Monday at 7 o'clock. Anyway, it's the Suwannee Sports Report here on rivercountrysports.com. It's presented by Roundtree Moore Ford on Highway 90 in Lake City. Go see my buddy Stephen Jones, see the voice of the Brantford Buccaneers, Jackson Jones. He'll sell you a car. They've got a great selection of new and pre-loved vehicles, plus top-notch service. Roundtree Moore Ford, proud to be part of the Morgan Automotive Group, dedicated to delivering exceptional service and a wide selection of quality vehicles. Highway 90 in Lake City, Florida. Roundtree Moore Ford. I'm Wayne Littrell, and tonight my special guest is Shane Morgan. If you're not familiar with Shane, he is the Emergency Management Director of Columbia County, plus the voice of the Fort White Indians, does radio for Fort White and also some PA work. He's also a graduate of Columbia High School, and he is a member of the Fort White Sports Hall of Fame. Mr. Shane Morgan, thanks for taking time.
Thanks for having me, Wayne. It's a pleasure to be here.
No doubt. We want to get into some conversation, talking about the Indians and other things.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
Right after we take this time out. It's the Suwannee Sports Report. Stay with us on rivercountrysports.com.
In the heart of the red zone is where the game is won, and you need a dealership that knows about scoring big. At Roundtree Moore Ford, we've scored this area's largest selection of new and pre-owned inventory. And right now, we're scoring rates as low as 0%. It's time to get out of the stands and score big in the Roundtree Moore Ford red zone. At Roundtree Moore Ford, the customer always wins. So make your next ride a touchdown at RoundtreeMoreFord.com today.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Van Carpet One. For 78 years, we've been your local family-owned and operated floor covering store, and we can't wait to serve you. Let's go check out some of the stuff we've got and say hey to the guys.
Hey guys, this is Michael Van here at Van Carpet One. Wanted to show you our huge display of carpet. Got about 1,000 rolls for you that we can order. We also keep about 100 in stock that are on clearance, so please come down and give us a visit. We appreciate it.
Come in and see the largest tile collection in North Florida. Van Carpet One has every tile you could possibly imagine. If you can't find it here, they don't make it. Guys, take a look at this. This is just some of our options in waterproof vinyl plank, where we have the largest selection anywhere around here, including over 70 pallets in stock, ready to go right now. Come in and see our fantastic selection of elegant hardwood too, followed up by fantastic service that you expect from a company like Van Carpet One.
Come on in and see us.
We can't wait to serve you. And that's a boom shakalak.
And welcome back to the Suwannee Sports Report here on rivercountrysports.com. Don't forget to subscribe and like to the channel. Thank you very much. All right, let's go. Shane Morgan. Let's get into it.
Well, first off, before we get started into this, I just want to say, I know you and I texted about this when it happened, but congratulations to you and Andy this year going into the Suwannee Athletics Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
Quite an honor for you guys. Y'all have both done a lot of work for Suwannee High football and continue to do a lot of work for Suwannee High football. So very proud of both of you.
Thank you. And my only comment is, oh my. And by the way, I need to get this out of the way because last week's show was with Frank Allen, and it was the night of the national championship game.
Yes.
And I might have made a prediction or two that did not come true.
I was going to say, how'd that work out for you?
Yeah, it's okay, though, because, I'm a Hurricane for life.
Mm-hmm. As you should be.
Suwannee Bulldog for life. So they gave it the old valiant college try and came up a bit short. Congratulations to Indiana on the championship.
It was a heck of a football game. One of the best championship games I've seen in a long time.
I just thought for the amount of money that we paid Carson Beck, he would have got that last drive completed without throwing another pick.
Oh, he
3 picks in 3 games. There are 3 losses this year.
He was probably thinking about his breakup with the Cavender girl, you know.
Could have been. Anyway, all right, so we've known each other for, I want to say, 4 decades. Is that right?
Pretty close to it. Yeah, it's amazing. We go back to the early 90s together over at one of the radio stations over in Lake City. And, we had a lot of fun back then. The panel.
Yeah, that was at 94, back when it was B94 years ago. And the panel was Lewis Stokes, who's now working in radio in Gainesville.
Yep.
And Brian Ricks, who retired as a Columbia County deputy.
Yeah, he is.
And yourself. I mean, it's amazing, where we've gone. I'm still the one stuck in radio here in the same market.
It's okay because I still dabble in radio, though. So it's okay. It's changed a lot over the years. And I'll tell you, back then, I never would have thought that you would be the forerunner with the technology and putting football on YouTube locally. And but it's been a well of a time, still keeping in touch with all the guys that were in radio with us. and keeping up with everybody,
Yeah, we try to. Got to give credit to Clifford Gwynn. He's the one that did push me into this, and he was my partner for the first year. And then Tammy Neal, she's the brains behind the operation. So she's the technical side.
Yeah, and Tammy and I, we go back to the early days of Fort White High School and everything. So when it opened in the early years in 2000, we go back that far. So
How did you first get involved with Fort White in athletics?
So it actually happened that whenever we were working together over in Lake City, 106.5 WCJX, they had the Fort White broadcast whenever it was put up, whenever Fort White became a football thing.
Okay.
Started out with Isidore, Bo, Hayward as an on air. And at that time, I was working with you on the Suwannee broadcast over in 98. So what happened then was a couple weeks into it, Dean Blackwell, our general manager, came to me and he said, "You know what? I need somebody that knows how to hook up equipment on that broadcast." Love the guys to death. And Hayward, may he rest in peace, passed away a couple years ago on us. But he was right. He needed somebody that could hook up the equipment. That was me. And so that's where it all started with Fort White High School. I had done a remote at Fort White. I live in Columbia County, and it just made sense at that point that I go over, and it's been quite the thing, quite the situation with Fort White and how that relationship has grown over the years. It started out doing football on the radio.
Right.
Then Columbia's broadcast came available about 2007, somewhere around in there. And I remember the phone call after we found out that CJX was taking Columbia football. We had no home at that point. And so I remember John Wilson, our athletic director at the time, he gave me a call. He's like, "Shane, I just want you to know, I know that the station's taking the other team, but there's a place for you here at Fort White, and we've got room for you." And that's when I started doing the PA stuff whenever we weren't doing football on the air. So I started out with varsity football, gradually moved over into the junior varsity football. And then middle school football, I took on whenever my now broadcast partner on the football broadcast, Mike Hunter, he took over as the head coach.
Right.
Mike is kind of the godfather of Fort White Indian football, and we can talk about that in a little bit if you like. But so we went there, and all through this, I'm gradually picking up different sports too. I pick up boys basketball. After the game in Santa Fe one night, we were getting ready to go, and the basketball coach and I see each other, Isaiah Phillips, and we call him Duke. Duke says to me, "Shane, I need an announcer. You want to come do the basketball for us?" I'm like, "Duke, get me a schedule." So he got me a schedule, and I started off with Duke, and now Elvin Shepard is our basketball coach, and I continue to do boys games. The girls games, I've gone through a number of coaches. Deshae Harris, now his sister Brigay is leading the basketball program on the girls' side. I picked them up. And I'll never forget one year at Hamilton County. This would have been about 2009, I think. I was there for a football game, and because I would go to the varsity football games on the road also. But I was there, and I was doing a little thing for an online newspaper. I would write up the game reports and send them in, and they would publish them on their Lake City Journal at the time, is what that was. And talking to Leroy Sherrod, who was president of the baseball boosters at that point, and Leroy says to me, "Shane, why don't you do baseball?" I'm like, "Leroy, nobody's ever asked." He's like, "Well, I'm asking you." I'm like, "All right, when the season starts, when we get close to the season, give me a schedule. I'll be there for the home games." And so that's how it all kind of built. And over the years, we've only had we're on our third principal at Fort White. We had Keith Hatcher for a number of years, followed by Keith Cooey, who is now the superintendent. And now we're on Jonathan Jordan. Jonathan replaced Keith Cooey as the helm of the Fort White. And so we've only had three principals, but each one of them have supported me in what I've done. All the athletic directors through the years have supported me in what I've done because I can't do it without their support.
Yeah, no doubt. That you took on a lot of responsibility, but just think of the relationships that you forged through the years.
Absolutely. Just earlier this week, one of my former cheerleaders had a birthday. Every year I text her, "Happy birthday, miss you, love you." And it goes on. And it goes down not only to the students, but the parents. There's a number of parents that are out there that I've made relationships with, whether they're a cheerleader, a player. It may even be somebody not affiliated with the program. I was at a conference for work of 2017, I think this was, and went out to eat one night, and there we were in the restaurant, and all of a sudden I hear, "Oh my gosh, are you from Fort White?" And I'm like, "Whoa, we're in Orlando now. How's this happening?" And but it was a former Fort White student that recognized me from all that I did. She didn't play sports. I think she played basketball her senior year on a junior varsity team.
Okay.
But we caught up. We got a picture together that night, and I still see her around town from time to time. So that was a pretty cool thing to be in Orlando and all that far from home. And she was going to school down there and doing her thing. But yeah, that just goes to show the different relationships. I still talk to all the principals. Mr. Cooley, I see at lunch sometimes in Lake City. Mr. Hatcher, he's about to retire. So I want to send a shout out to Keith Hatcher, who's about to retire from the school system. A well-earned career that he's had over the years. He's been at the district office since he left Fort White. But it's great, those relationships, and being able. What I love now is being able to watch all the kids that came up the early years of Fort White as they move in to parenthood and continue to raise their family, see their kids grow up.
Yeah, they become the leaders in the community.
They do.
It's the next generation, and that is kind of cool. It's also kind of cool to see players that you saw in high school that maybe go on. Maybe they didn't play for Fort White, but you
Right.
saw them play for the opposing team or something.
Yeah.
That go on to great careers.
CJ Spiller's a prime example. Played at Lake Butler. Saw him a number of times as he worked his way up. Anytime that he would break away from a defender, I'm like, I saw that look a whole lot. The back of his jersey. So he's one of the ones that comes to mind. The young man that played at Taylor County, LeGarrette Blunt, had a career in the NFL. He's one that I remember right offhand, And even some of the coaches, as they come up and I find out that I actually saw them play or whatever, and they remember me from doing this for so long as I have. It's just a great community thing, and I love being a part of it. I mean, it even extends now. Mr. Cooley brought me on board as part of his staff at Baccalaureate, and I'm on the field with the team with all of his security detail at graduation and stuff now. So it's really been quite a benefit.
Yeah, it's pretty neat feeling. I mean, having saw Andre Davis at Suwannee and Alex Brown in Hamilton County, and then I saw Derrick Henry play for Yulee back when he was in high school, and you knew he was going to be a star.
Oh, no doubt,
But,
no doubt about
it is pretty cool to look back and remember, who you saw and when they weren't stars. Chipper Jones, another one, got to see him in high school playing for Bulls.
Yeah.
Anyway, right now, I guess your concentration is basketball, boys and girls basketball.
Yep, boys and girls basketball. We're coming into the final week of the regular season. The girls had senior night on Friday night, and so we honored our senior girls this year. We got about 5 of them, I believe, that we honored. And tomorrow night, Williston will be in Fort White. And then on Friday night, we will be having the final home game for the boys. So Gainesville, I believe, is who comes in on Friday. I'll have to check that and see. Newberry and Buchholz, that's who it is.
Okay.
Newberry's on the road on Thursday, then Buchholz will be on Friday night. And then the following week, we just move right into district tournament play because it's that time of year for basketball,
Yeah. And how the season's been going.
So the boys have struggled. The boys come off a big year last year, made it to Lakeland, got to the Final Four, lost in the semifinals and the Final Four, but a lot of expectation coming into the year. But for whatever reason, we've just been struggling. We're going to be the number 5 seed in the district tournament, I believe, as we go into that week. But, we're in there with Trenton, Union, Taylor, Dixie, and Bell. So I think we'll have Bell at home on the Tuesday night of that week because Tuesday, February 3rd, Thursday, February 5th, and Saturday, February 7th is the boys tournament for that. So it'll be interesting to see, maybe they can get it together and get on a run. One thing that's happened is that good for him, bad for our basketball team, but one of our best players on the team, Jaden Jackson, graduated early, is up at Georgia Southern now, but he was on the basketball team after finishing his football career. So he hasn't been with us the last few weeks. So there's been some struggles this year, but, basketball, it's a team game, and maybe, you get on a roll in the tournament, and who knows what can happen.
Well, that's the beauty of it. Everybody's 0-0.
Mm-hmm.
You might have to start with the number 5 seed and a little bit more difficult, but you could get it done. Win and you move on. Lose
exactly.
It's all done.
Exactly. And the girls, they're having a solid year this year. They're 12-8 right now as we speak. And, they have that game against Williston to wrap up the regular season. But their tournament, they'll be the number 1 seed in their district. Also, the same teams, Dixie, Taylor, Trenton, Bell, and Union. So the first game of the district tournament will be on Monday, February 2nd. Then Wednesday, February 4th, and Friday, February 6th will be the girls' tournament schedule for that. So, on the rural classification, the girls are doing a solid job. We got a lot of young ladies. One of the seniors that we honor, Mariah Cox, she's new to us this year, but she's provided a lot of defensive spark and done a great job for us. Zuri Holly, she's been doing a great job for us. She's just a junior, so we'll have her back next year. Looking down the list, Erica Roberson, she's a junior. Her sister Javiana is a sophomore. All three of those have provided big things for our girls basketball program. And hopefully we'll get on a hot stretch here and see what the girls can do in the tournament and in the playoffs. So,
all right. Speaking of Shane Morgan, talking Fort White athletics, we've got Fort White, by the way. We're doing River Country is doing some Suwannee baseball and softball games.
Yep.
And we've got Fort White coming into Live Oak and going to play on the 10th of April. Would love to have you over and help broadcast that one if you.
All right. Let me see what we got.
Friday night, by the way.
So Friday night. Okay.
So I'll get with you before that and check schedules.
Yes, we will. You have your people call my people.
Yeah, there you go. But we're pretty excited about it. And if there are any businesses out there that would like to sponsor us, we could sure use the support. So all you have to do is get a hold of us. Most people know how to get a hold of me, but if not, you could email me, rivercountrysports@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about Fort White football.
Yeah.
This year, you guys, Rural Division. And you were right on the edge of making the playoffs as the top 16, and you finished at number 17. And congratulations, you ended with a win. Teams can say that.
No, we can't. And, we'll talk about this a little bit after I talk about the season, but we may be the final Rural Division classification champions in the FIT tournament. So we'll talk about that coming up. But yeah, it was such a weird season. And, I was out of town at meetings when the brackets came out for the playoffs, but I had one of the sports editors from the Lake State Reporter. He texted me. He's like, man, I feel bad for you guys. I'm like, you're going to have to be more specific. I'm in a meeting. I haven't seen the bracket. And he told me that we were in the FIT tournament, the Florida Invitational tournament. But you know what? The kids took that. They had a chip on their shoulder. And it was a unique situation because we really only played one game prior to the championship game.
Because of the buys.
And it being an invitational, teams could opt out if they wanted to. So we played Wildwood, demolished them at home, had a home game. The next week, the two teams that we would have played, they both opted out. So we didn't have a game that week. But Port St. Joe came in. They gave us a heck of a ball game. And those are nice facilities down at the Villages. They are very nice facilities, and it was just such a great treat to see the young men, because after the game was over, we all ended up at the same restaurant for dinner that night. I had Coach John Wilson, and Mike Hunter was with me, who does the broadcast. But we were all there, and we all ate with the team afterwards. But it's a great thrill. The first football championship that we have brought to Fort White. Yeah. And it's just an honor to say that we are Florida Invitational Tournament champions this year.
Yeah, a lot of people called it the B tournament, what have you. Hey, it gave you an opportunity to play some more games, get some more work in, and go home with a trophy. So I don't see a downside, really.
No, we're going to have a whole lot of those kids back. We're losing the seniors, of course, but we're going to have a number of those young men back. And Coach Jackson will be back next year. He said that on my morning show, the morning after the FIT game. Okay. He said that he is coming back, and he's going to give it a run. For next year, it's going to be on a year-by-year basis as far as he's concerned, which is great. He's put in a lot of time. Next year will be his 20th season coaching at Fort White. So, that's quite an accomplishment in itself for a coach to be around a school for 20 years.
Yeah, of course, there was the Lake City years, but we don't really need to bring that up, I guess.
I think if you include the Lake City, it ends up being like 22.
22.
Yeah, so I think this is actually
this is the right fit for him, though, Fort White.
It is. It's his home, it's his place, and, with his friends, his family, just so much that goes on there. So
I enjoy the years that we played. We had a rivalry going for 3 or 4 years there where Fort White and Suwannee would play.
Yeah.
Who would you say with the biggest rival for Fort White? Is it still Santa Fe? Would it be Hamilton? What is your big rivalry?
So right now, as it sits right now, I would say Taylor County.
Really?
Because they've been one of the most consistent teams that we've played over the years.
Right.
And we never know going into that game how we're going to be, how they're going to be. And if you look at the record, if I remember right, we're pretty close. It's pretty level to 500. I think we have a slight edge over Taylor County. We've had so many phenomenal games with them over the years that I would say that as it sits, if you base it off of teams that we've played regularly, it's going to be the Taylor County Bulldogs.
They were really good this past year. So.
They were, and they dropped down to the rural classification.
Yeah, I know.
So,
How did that happen? They used to be in the same district with Suwannee
They
for
did.
years and years, but
They did.
Suwannee is 3A, and now there's the rural division. And a lot of the rural teams, and we'll get back to talking about the FIT and the playoffs, but a lot of the rural teams have opted out of the FHSAA.
And that's what I was going to bring up is this week there is actually an emergency meeting that the FHSAA is going to have to talk about that, because I think we're down to 16 teams in the rural classification because so many have opted out to go independent. And so the common thought is that if that the FHSAA will move everybody that's in rural now up into 1A. So we're going to see if that happens. Don't know what the exact outcome's going to be. We'll have to watch that meeting when it happens this week. But it's going to be interesting to see because it's just been last person in rural, shut the lights off because we're gone.
Well, I mean, there was such a big discrepancy between the top 4, 5, 6, 7 seeds and then the everybody else. And so Bramford, for example, had a tremendous season.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up, I think, the 14 seed or the 15 seed. They had to play the 2 seed in Hawthorne.
Yeah,
and it was a mismatch.
Yeah, it really was. And it's going to be interesting to see what Hawthorne looks like with Cornelius Ingram having left, and see who they bring in as their head coach. But yeah, it's just it's a top-heavy league for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't know that moving the rural schools up to 1A is the answer because there's a lot of independent or a lot of private schools up in that 1A. So we're really not solving the problem.
No, I like, if you dominate at a certain level, I would like to see them move up, kind of like a European soccer model.
Yeah.
Where, you're now you're rural, now you move up to 1A. Let's see what you do there. And if you dominate there, we move you and just keep. To me, that might be a solution that they could look at.
It could be. And I saw something last week on Facebook about an Alabama model. I need to look more into that. I don't know a whole lot about what they're doing in Alabama, but there's got to be solutions out there because I can't imagine that the FHSAA wants to see all these teams leave and go independent, especially with some of the histories that are going out there. You look at the Dixie counties, they're going over there, the Bramfords, we haven't been around that long, but Fort White, they've got a history in the 26 years that they've been around as a school and the 25 years of football that they've put behind them. So
that's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah.
I mean, they created that rural division thinking they had solved that problem a few years back.
Yeah.
But, it really hadn't solved anything. So
it really hadn't. It's like, surprise, we just created more problems as it's happened. But
as it was, I mean, would you rather be a 15, 16 seed having to play at Bluntstown or at Hawthorne or at Chiefland or something like that, knowing you didn't really have a shot? Or would you rather be that 17 seed and the number 1 seed in the tournament, the FIT?
I'll be totally honest with you. I really liked having that home game just because you know what your situation is as you go into broadcast. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
You go somewhere like a Bluntstown, you have no idea what it's going to look like, your broadcast setup and everything, or if they're going to welcome you with open arms or say, "Who are you? What do you want? Why are you here?"
Oh, yeah.
But so as I look back in retrospect, because I was a big critic of the FIT going in, let's just say that. Going into it, when they created it, I'm like, okay, so we're doing participation trophies now, but having watched what it meant to our kids, to our coaches, to our supporters, having watched that, and then I didn't even realize it at the time, but that was actually the first time in my years in radio that I've called play-by-play on a championship game.
Yeah, I actually listened to a lot of that game.
Yeah, and we appreciate that.
During the workday, so I had to go out and I heard the fourth quarter, at the end of the game, and I heard a lot at the beginning and some of the pregame. But you and Mike did a great job.
We have a lot of fun together. I don't know if it comes across on the radio, but me and Mike, we have a lot of fun together. And, it's just such a staple. I've worked with him a number of years, worked with Terry Filia a number of years.
Yeah, and the Suwannee defensive backs coach.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And good for him continuing on doing the stuff that he does. But, so I've been blessed with some good color announcers over the years. And that was the thing I didn't touch on when we're talking about the history of it. About 2015 is when Power Country came into the picture.
Right.
And Barry Rollerson was there at the time. And he's like, "Hey, how'd you like to do Fort White football on the radio?" And I'm like, "Well, let me talk to Coach Jackson and Coach Wilson, the athletic director." And he's like, "We already did. They recommended you." Oh, okay. So that's how that all ended up happening, just to loop that story back together. But and we've been with Power Country ever since. And you mentioned doing some Fort White baseball when they come see Suwannee, and we're going to do 3 games this year for Fort White baseball all home games just to kind of see how it goes and see how I do with it, because I haven't broadcast baseball before, except for one game you and I did in Fort White many years ago.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember that or not, but they set a table up
Yes.
behind the home plate backstop.
And that's one of the reasons why I've been so hesitant to even suggest doing baseball on the radio. Now, at one of Rick Julius's last things that he did about 3 years ago now was move the concession stand behind home plate, and then the upper level is our press box.
Okay, so you do have a press.
So we do have a legitimate press box. It's a nice. It's probably I don't even want to guess how many feet it is. We got plenty of room now. We can put a couple other tables in there and actually do a radio broadcast justice without having to sit at a picnic table like you and I did on the side of the hill.
We're pretty excited. We've done all home games except for the playoffs. We went to Baldwin last year for the district game, but we're doing a game at Columbia High School this year.
Oh, awesome.
So looking forward to that February 18th, the night of that broadcast. So, and they have Columbia just first class facility.
Oh, they do. They do. It's been a while since I've been out to a Columbia game, but I remember the years that I did go up there and was in the press box for whatever reason. They have a great facilities, and we're excited in Fort White. We have a new baseball coach this year. Rick Julius stepped down after a number of years, led our team to the Final Four down in Fort Myers back in 2023, I think it was 2022. 2022. Both he and the softball team got to the Final Four in their respective classifications. But Mike Mandrino, a former assistant coach at Bell High School, he has come over. Chad Amara, he is the assistant coach for the baseball team. And they've got a loaded schedule. They start off with Taylor County. That's one of the games we're going to do as long as basketball doesn't interfere with it. But Taylor County starts off the season. We got Lafayette coming in. Dixie County comes in. St. Francis Catholic Academy, we're playing them in a home-at-home throughout the season. Home-at-home with Dixie County. So there's a lot of teams. Brantford, they're on the baseball schedule as well. And I'm looking forward to see what Coach Mandrino does. He had a lot of kids out for tryouts. They have like 17, 18 players on the roster this year. So
what are your radio games?
So Taylor County on February 10th.
Okay.
There's one in March. I got to double check. The schedule has us playing Chiefland at home on the 10th. So I got to double check that one and see which is the right, because on the match preps it says Ad Oak Hall. And then the final one that we'll do will be April 9th. We'll do the Gainesville game because that's senior night. So we'll do the final home game of the regular season. And our thanks to the folks at Power Country for giving us a try to see how this works out.
Yeah, no doubt. And so that's 102.1 FM if you want to tune in and check that out. We talked about doing football games and doing road broadcasts.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't know what you're walking into.
You don't.
And now, with River Country, now we have cameras that we bring and camera operators, and it gets a little tricky at times. And we may or may not be invited to be in the press box. We may or may not have access to power nearby. Plenty of exchange. There's just a lot of things that you can't, including the weather, that you just can't count on. Last year at Wakulla, for example, they wouldn't allow us to bring cameras in for some reason.
That's crazy to us because we went to Fernandina Beach this year. We were supposed to go last year, but they had a major storm come through. And this was the first time and only time that this has ever happened. Fernandina Beach is actually independent. So they're in the Sunshine State Athletic Conference. Yeah. And I reach out, probably like you do. I do it a couple weeks before so it doesn't get lost in email traffic. I try to find the principal, the athletic director, the head football coach, whoever I can find emails for, just like me and you used to do with the old letters, the snail mail that we would do before the season.
Well, we had to get phone lines hooked up.
Exactly. So I send these emails out. Hey, I'm Shane Morgan. Here's what I need. Here's what we're doing. What's our setup going to be like? Is there room in the press box for me and Mike? All we need is a tabletop for a laptop, a mixing board, a little place for our notes. Most of the time we go to places so small that it's not even a factor that we can get into the press box. Right. Well, can you at least get us somewhere close to power? I've got extension cords. When we go to Lake Butler, we have to run extension cords on the visitor sideline from the stands over to the visitors concession stand so we can get power to plug everything up and do our broadcast. But those are some of the things that we have to do and the time that it takes to reach out and work out those logistics. And I just applaud you guys for taking on the video aspect of it.
Yeah. And you got to keep the equipment dry. I mean,
you do.
And you don't know what you're facing, with inclement weather. And if you're not in a press box, it gets pretty difficult.
Yeah.
But we've faced, I don't know how much adversity when we
Yeah.
been on the road, but lucky to say we've been able to bring the broadcast. No
Mhm.
matter what we face, we've been able to bring the broadcast, and we hope to continue to do that
Yeah.
into the future.
My best friends are cheap ponchos. You know, those $1, $2 ponchos that you can find at Walmart or somewhere. Those are my friends. I just plug them in there, and I'm like, okay, I've got them just in case we need them.
I learned that lesson in McClenny one night, and
Mhm.
we were doing a ball game in the stands. They couldn't
Yep.
get us in the press box.
Yep.
And Andy Day and myself, and we're doing the broadcast on 98 at the time.
Right.
And it's raining cats and dogs, and he's got his hunting gear on. So Andy,
Yeah.
we get back to the van afterward. I'm soaked down to the drawers,
Right.
and I'm miserable.
Yeah.
And he just done, and he's high and dry. And I told him on the road, I said, I'm getting one of those. I'm not a hunter, but I'm getting one of those.
Exactly.
And I did. So
Oh my gosh, there's a couple that brings to mind a couple of games when we weren't broadcasting, but one we had gone over to Stanton College Prep in Jacksonville. I don't know if you've ever been over to Stanton College Prep, but it's right in the heart of Jacksonville.
yeah.
So we had about an hour and a half rain delay. It was homecoming for them. They had all of their golf carts on campus set up like floats. You know, we do the floats in the parade here, but they had their golf carts set up. And the biggest event that night, once we got on the air, is everybody in the stands kept looking because there were constant police chases as we were doing the football game, going right by the stadium. There were police chases going off and going on all the way. And this would have been when Mike was still coaching. So that's around 05, 06. And then a few years later, we went over to Quincy. It wasn't called Quincy then. It was
Quincy Shanks at one time, now Gadsden County.
it might have been I think it was called East Gadsden where we went.
All right.
And oh my gosh, it was another homecoming night. Thankfully, I wasn't on the air this night. I was just trying to take notes and for my report that I was saying about for Lake City Journal, but it was just so horrendous. Finally, the band was like, you know what? We're out. See ya. We're gone. We're not sticking around. We had more people in our stands than they had on their stands, and it was their homecoming also. So there's been some tremendous weather games.
Yeah.
One year in start, Mike and I were broadcasting. We were over playing Bradford, and the windows were fogging. If you remember, because it was a fully enclosed one door, and you couldn't really open the windows to Bradford. And all of a sudden, Mike says, "You know, I wish somebody would wipe the outside of our press box so we could see the field." All of a sudden, here comes a guy. He just
With a little squeegee.
Yeah, has squeegee. I'm like, squeegee man. And me and Mike still joke about that to this day. It's too funny.
We had a broadcast one time at Pensacola Catholic, a playoff game, and Coach Frank Allen, sent his kid out there with a squeegee, and that was his job, man. He had to try to keep the window,
Yeah.
because it was fogged up and it was raining.
Yeah.
It was a miserable night, but we were inside, but couldn't open that window.
Right.
And been now the times we've gone to Bradford County, we've had to climb up on top.
They tried to do that with us one year, but it was such bad weather. I'm like, no, we're not even going to do that. It was forecast. The winds were forecast to be like 20, 30 miles an hour sustained. I'm like, I'm not going up onto the press box.
Yeah. As you get older, it's a little bit,
Not only that,
as easy as it used to be.
Not only that, I'm an emergency manager. You know, can you see the headline there? Emergency manager injured because of wind on press box. But I made the decision when we got there, and it was totally my call that night. I'm like, I'm not going to risk the equipment. I've got my cell phone. We will do it by cell phone that night. And we did it over from our stands, which were the small aluminum stands that you see at like the baseball fields and everything. But me and Mike just stood there, did the best we could.
We just passing the phone back and forth.
Passing the phone back and forth.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we ended up doing.
We've had to do that as well, time to time. I remember one time, this was back when Shannon Day broadcast with us at 98 and did a game in Tallahassee, and back when they had to hook up phone lines,
right?
And they didn't get the phone line installed, so we had to do the first half of the game on a payphone
at
Capitol Stadium.
Oh my gosh!
While they were installing the phone line, second half was fine.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, through the years we've faced plenty of adversity, but you wouldn't do it if you didn't love it.
No, it is definitely a labor of love, as you can tell, because it's hard to find people that want to do what we do.
Yeah,
you know, I was having that conversation with somebody. It might have been Dr. Barrett with the college yesterday. We were at a United Way function and just talking about stuff. And it's just hard to find people that want to go out, want to do this. You know, they want to talk all kinds of stuff back behind the scenes, but you put them on the air. And that's why it's such a relief with Mike and with Terry, because they weren't afraid to get in there, kind of like you have with Andy. Andy gets on the air and he's in his element.
Yeah, we have a couple, we can call him Matt Campbell.
Mhm.
He's always reliable. He could do any sport. Hunter, if he has time,
Yeah.
is great at it. So we have a handful of people, but trying to find some younger people that want to get into this profession.
Yeah.
At least on a part-time basis, it would be great to have a future voice of the Bulldogs. I'm
Right.
getting the time signal.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that.
So let's take a timeout. Back with more of the Suwannee Sports Report after this on RiverCountrySports.com.
In the heart of the red zone is where the game is won, and you need a dealership that knows about scoring big. At Roundtree Moore Ford, we've scored this area's largest selection of new and pre-owned inventory. And right now, we're scoring rates as low as 0%. It's time to get out of the stands and score big in the Roundtree Moore Ford red zone. At Roundtree Moore Ford, the customer always wins. So make your next ride a touchdown at RoundtreeMoreFord.com today.
You were there at the beginning. You stood behind me, guiding me through good times and bad, teaching me lessons I wouldn't appreciate until later, preparing me for the day when you couldn't be here. What you've given me, I'll carry wherever I go. And because of your planning, I know I'll go far.
Set your family up for life. Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance. Your friends for life.
Excellence in academic and clubs. Tradition, family, future. Foundations for lifelong learning. Leadership begins here. Careers start here. Curiosity meets opportunity. Building the leaders of tomorrow. Learning begins with love. One district, every student, every day. The Suwannee County School District, my choice for high-quality education.
And back here on the Suwannee Sports Report here on RiverCountrySports.com, Shane Morgan, my special guest. He is the voice of the Fort White Indians and EM director. Yeah, I guess apparently I didn't. EM director of Columbia County. I appreciate you taking time out. I know we want to mention a couple of other things before we get out of here.
Just real quick, I want to mention we have our varsity softball team. It is going to be starting up here in the next couple of weeks. They did their tryouts this week. Josh and Jessica Robinson doing their second year as the head coaches of the varsity softball. Did a great job last year. Their first game, according to Max Preps, is on February 23rd. That's a road game at Dixie County. Their first three actually start out on the road, the 23rd, 24th, and 27th. Dixie, Corinth Christian Academy at Williston. Looking forward to a great season from Fort White softball. Over the last few years, that rivalry with Brantford, when softball comes along, Brantford and Fort White, that's become a huge rivalry on both sides of it. And real quick, while it's not sports related, I want to give a shout out to Fort White folks, Deshae Harris. He's doing a great job with our theatrical program, taking them to competitions. They've only been an official thing for about 3 or 4 years now. But coming up in March, they're going to do a production, Manic Pizza. It's a trip back to the 80s. So I'm looking forward to that myself, just to go check it out. But I want to give Deshae a shout out because he does such a great job with the young people, giving another avenue for those that may not be sports inclined to get out and participate. So
I'm not sure who our next show is going to be, but we're trying to get a show put together with the voice of the Hamilton County Trojans. And Ryan Mitchell's the principal up there, and he helps. And Josh Altman is the voice of the Trojans. So trying to get them, pinning them down has not been easy. So if not, we'll go with an alternative plan. But as of this point, that's the plan for next Monday night. Jane, thank you again for coming in, taking time out.
Thank you for having me, Wayne. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to coming back soon.
The Suwannee Sports Report airs live Mondays, 7 o'clock, and then is archived on our website for you to view anytime. The Sports Report is presented by Roundtree Moore Ford. A special shout-out going out to Roundtree Moore Ford and all the folks there. Thank you so much for supporting local sports here on River Country. It's also brought to you in part by Van Carpet One, by Farm Bureau Insurance, and by the Suwannee County School District. Tammy Neal's been our streaming and executive producer. For Shane Morgan, I'm Wayne Littrell. See you next week on the Suwannee Sports Report.